Entei is coming, and we're finally getting some love for Taupe Hollow. Welcome back to another Pokemon Sleep video. It's Bro Vinny here. Today we are going to talk about the limited info that we got about the Entei event. We're going to talk about Ninetales very briefly, and also we're going to talk about some tips and tricks for preparation of the Entei event based on what we can speculate. Unfortunately, the information is very limited and it's quite premature, so don't jump into any conclusions, don't jump into any investments just yet, but it is a good idea to start hunting some fire-type Pokemon. So while Taupe Hollow is getting some love, it is not for the Entei event. We are talking about Vulpix and Ninetales, the new species that are coming to Pokemon Sleep. They are going to be just like their fellow fire-type Pokemon in Taupe Hollow, and they will also be available at Greengrass Isle. It is going to be a snoozing type Pokemon, just like fellow fire-type Pokemon. Vulpix will appear on May 6th, which is the Monday, in about a week and a half, which may be closely tied to possibly a fire-type event before the Entei event comes at the end of May. So while that's all the information that we got from the developers, one thing we can speculate is that Vulpix is likely going to need a Firestone in order to evolve, which means chances are there's going to be a bundle somewhere that they're going to sell with a Firestone, or you're just going to have to save 1400 sleep points to evolve a Vulpix. Unless you haven't used your free-to-play achievement one to evolve Eevee into Flareon or Growlithe into Arcanine. Now, if Vulpix is anything like the Raikou event with Dedene's release in the weeks prior, it may have Dedene's skill Tasty Chance S. And generally speaking, we are lacking Pokemon who has that skill anyway. This is just purely speculation. Let me know what you guys think Vulpix's specialty will be in the comment section below and what its main skill is gonna be. Now, on to the main part of this video. Entei event. We're going to cover what we do know about it, we're going to cover all the things we speculate about it, and also we're going to cover some tips and tricks in preparation for Entei event. Entei research event is coming late May, but you know what else is coming late May? Good Sleep Day event. So hopefully those two things will coincide to help us find more Enteis and get more Entei mains. Just like the Raikou event, during the Entei event, we'll be looking out for Entei mains in order to exchange for special items like maybe Entei incense, Entei biscuits, or maybe even fire-type candies that they've briefly touched on in another update, which we're not going to talk about today because, well, we don't know anything about it yet. Now, besides saying that fire-type Pokemon are going to help us during this research event, which, by the way, generally means, based on our experience, that one of the favorite berries at Greengrass Isle is going to be guaranteed fire-type. And how do I know that it's going to be on Greengrass Isle? Why not in Taupe Hollow? Well, that's because this X post here that says that Entei is going to be on Greengrass Island. How much do we trust this post anyway, since what the hell is Greengrass Island? That's not the official name for Greengrass Isle. I'm not 100% why this wasn't said in the developer notes, but it was only said in the Twitter updates. And based on experiences so far, chances are Entei is going to be only at Greengrass Isle and unlikely going to be at Taupe Hollow, despite how much long-term players want that to happen. And that's because every event that we've had so far that modifies the map. We're talking about the Raikou event had the electricity coursing through the map and had new music, or maybe the Halloween event, or maybe the Christmas event. All of these that modified the actual map were all in Greengrass Isle. I don't recall a single time where they've modified the map for an event on any other area. So given that Entei will probably have erupting volcano and burning grass, etc., it's probably just going to happen at Greengrass Isle, which is great for new players because that's the area that you're going to start with when you just start the game. Which brings me to the first tip that I've got for you guys is to spend the next number of weeks before the Entei event at Taupe Hollow hunting for a good fire type. If you can't reach Taupe Hollow yet, you can do it at Greengrass Isle as well, but just be aware that Greengrass Isle's area bonus might get really high and you might reach the limit if you stay on Greengrass for too long. And don't forget that chances are we're going to have to spend 2 weeks for the Entei event at Greengrass Isle, which is another 10% extra on the area bonus. And in case you didn't know, area bonus limits depends on your sleep style dex goals reached. So if you've reached 290, the maximum area bonus cap is 60%, and then it goes down by 5% for each sleep style dex goal threshold met. You can find this infographic on the Pokemon Sleep Discord. You can also find it under my infographics chat in my Discord as well. And in case you haven't already got a good one like myself, your main focus is catching a Cyndaquil that has Berry Finding S at Taupe Hollow for the next few weeks. Just look for something that has Berry Finding, helping bonus, helping speed, maybe even skill trigger and skill level up. Those are all nice things to have on a Typhlosion. Besides that, if you get any of these other fire-type Pokemon, if they have Berry Finding S, it's going to help you for this event specifically. Now, that's not to say that Berry Finding S should be on every single Pokemon. Remember that Berry Finding S also harms ingredient production if you don't have enough inventory. So for example, if you're looking for sausages and you've got a Berry Finding S skill, well, the amount of sausages that a Charmander will farm can be reduced if you're not collecting those productions often enough. Equally, unless you've got enough inventory, a Flareon skill trigger might be harmed by having Berry Finding S, unless again you collect the productions frequently enough. But if we're talking about specifically for the Entei event, Berry Finding S is a good idea on any of the fire-type Pokemon. In terms of priority, number 1 is Cyndaquil line, number 2, in my opinion, is actually Flareon. The reason why Flareon is important, besides its fire-type berry, is because of its skill, Cooking Power-Up S. If you've seen my other video about Cooking Power-Up S with the 200 pot expansion strategy, you should know that you can have up to 5 Cooking Power-Up Pokemon on a team in order to help you expand that pot very quickly on Sunday night. So while Flareon is the worst of the 3 expand pot specialists, it's still fine to have one. In fact, it's actually not worse by that much. So if you've got a good Flareon or a good Eevee, especially if it has Berry Finding S, it's going to be quite nice for this event. And then I'm going to recommend that you focus on Charmander if you haven't already got a good one. I personally already invested in a Charmander that has Sausage at level 30. Based on the mono ingredient meta, we would want triple Sausage for Charmander, but specifically for this event, if you got Berry Finding on a Charizard, that's going to work quite well as well. And in my opinion, the least important one out of these 4 Pokemon is Arcanine. Unless you already have a really good one that has Berry Finding S, I don't really see a need for Arcanine for this event. Its skill is just not that good. It's to begin with, Extra Helpful S is a niche skill. Gallade beats it. The only advantage is that it is a fire berry that you can carry over from one week to another. And maybe you can use it to overstack your berries, but Raikou is going to be better at it than Arcanine. So if you know what you're doing, by all means, but if you haven't already got a good one and you're hunting or you haven't invested in one, I don't think your priority lies in Arcanine. Where Ninetales sits in the priority, we don't know yet. We'll talk about it when it comes. Now, the second tip I've got for you guys is based on our experience on the Raikou event. Just like the Raikou event, we will be hunting for Entei mains. And in order to maximize your Entei mains, you should be looking at saving your resources like Pokemon incenses, especially fire-type incenses. And you should be looking at saving your good camp ticket in order to use during the Entei event. And chances are Entei event will run for 2 weeks, so you'll want enough materials to cover those 2 weeks. Now, sleep research is just one way out of 4 ways that they gave us mains in the Raikou event. So remember that you can also get mains from your community research. So make sure you make as many friends as possible and try to level up that friendship as much as you can over the next few weeks. It takes about 100 days to go from closeness 0 to closeness 5. And if you've seen my research, you'll remember that with 50 closeness 5 friends, you can get on average 32 mains in a day, whereas you'd only get about 1 main a day if your closeness is anywhere between 0 to 2. So over these next few weeks, try and make some good friends who play regularly and try to at least get to closeness 3, and your main drop from your community research will go up significantly, up to about 10 mains per day on average. and hopefully reaching closeness 5 just before the event starts. Now there's a niche little bonus tip I've got for you guys, is that if you don't open the envelopes, your research envelopes, the day before the Entei event actually starts, you may be able to get Entei mains from those Sunday envelopes, and you get 50 of them at once if you've saved them for an entire day. But I think it's worth sacrificing a few candies in order to obtain more Entei mains. So those 2 ways to get mains are something you can kind of prepare for. And then there's 2 other ways to get mains, but these are not ways we can really prepare for anyway. You can buy them from bundles, or you can get them from completing limited time missions, just like the Raikou event. Besides saving your Pokemon incenses, here are 4 other items you want to be holding on to for the event. Of course, number 1 is the Master Biscuit. If you haven't already saved 4,000 points, or you haven't already bought it from the shop, make sure you keep these Master Biscuits for the legendary Pokemon. I pretty much exclusively recommend Master Biscuits on legendaries now because of how rare they are. All the value calculations aside, this is the only thing Master Biscuit is really truly valuable for. Another good resource to save for the event is the ingredient tickets. Now, I'm not saying you can't run your mono ingredient specialist team for the event. You certainly could and should, but if you can start the week off by running 5 berry specialists and just fill the pot up with ingredients from the previous week that you've saved up in your ingredient bag, and then topped up with these ingredient tickets, and then just purely run berry specialists for the first 2 days, maybe with a healer, then you're gonna have a strong start to the week. And as you run low on these ingredient tickets, and then swap in your mono ingredient specialists to help fill up the pot. Definitely hold on to these helper whistles and use them at the start of the event. This will give your Snorlax a very nice boost and power up its strength for the rest of the week. And if you did the plus 200 expand pot strategy from the Sunday before and almost used up your entire ingredient bag, well, Helper Whistle is gonna help you fill up that ingredient bag again, which again means you don't have to run as many ingredient specialists, and you can put them back in the box and run berry specialists. Just remember, don't run this with a skill specialist because it doesn't proc skill. And lastly, energy pillows. You might not think about this much, but energy pillows are very good. In fact, if you hypothetically had 100 pillows lying around, you don't even need to run a healer. You can just run another berry specialist or another ingredient specialist on your team, which means your entire team will perform 10-20% better than having a healer that does the job of energy pillows. Just drop those energy pillows on your Pokemon as opposed to using a healer at the start of the week. And for a fun little extra boost, if you have the Pokego Plus, what you can also do is not collect your Nightcap Pikachu's inventory the day before and only collect them when the actual event starts. So let me know what you guys think Ninetales' specialty will be and its main skill in the comments section below. But also let me know what you guys think Entei's specialty will be and its main skill. And if I left out any other good tip that you think everyone should know, make sure you leave it in the comments section below, and I'll make sure I put a heart on it so that everyone else can see. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the channel membership for more Pokemon Sleep content.